Want to give a big war eagle to all the YouTube folks out in the stratosphere. Go ahead and like this video, comment, and subscribe to Vernon Speak Sports Auburn. And as always, it's great to be an Auburn Tiger, War Eagle. Game number 7, Auburn comes into this particular one at 5-1 on the season. Gus Malzahn, actually, to much of you all's surprise, is up for a few awards. I'll let you look that one up on Google. And rightfully so. Gus Malzahn garnishes a lot of harsh criticism because of some of his decision making, but you got to look at it like this. Gus Malzahn is 5-1. True freshman quarterback, has beaten a couple of top 25 teams. Should have beaten another one on the road, which was their last football game before the bye week. And now you got Auburn 5-1. Again in a situation, which has been something that has been traditional in the Gus Malzahn era, in a situation where you are relevant at midseason. Unlike in 2018, by this time, it was a wrap for Auburn. Auburn was playing strictly for pride, and that's pretty much what they played for, 8-5. Nice win over Purdue. But with the skill set of Auburn, you expected whoever they played, if it wasn't going to be a New Year's Six Bowl, Auburn should have won anyway because they were just that much more talented than any other team that they would play outside of the New Year's Six Bowl. We're talking about keys to victory for Auburn. Now, just because you show up, just because you are the superior team, you can ask Georgia, you can ask a lot of teams across the country, just because you're the superior team doesn't mean an automatic victory. Sad thing is for South Carolina and Georgia, Georgia was at home. Ironically, it was a 12 o'clock game, Eastern time. South Carolina played a very good football game. They've showed shades of having a pretty good team. Knocked Georgia clean off the box. How does Auburn avoid this? Number one, Auburn is actually not in a great overall, perceptually great position here because they've lost their starting running back. There's some question marks at the running back. In my opinion, it's not about skill set. I honestly think that the guys on the bench are just as good as Boobie Whitlow. But here's where things get a little tricky. You talk about DJ Williams, for example. Fresh out of high school, yes, he did have the opportunity to participate in spring ball, but how's his ball protecting skills? How is his ability to protect the quarterback in passing situations? See, what a lot of folks don't realize is that in these types of games, when you talk about taking on Texas A&M, nothing to lose. They're going to be very opportunistic in this game. Turnovers can really be the great equalizer. If we take a trip back to 2018 around this same time when Auburn took on Tennessee, turnovers were definitely the great equalizer. So ball protection is going to be key. So you better believe that defensive coordinator, anybody involved with the defense with Arkansas is going to be like, look, these guys are not used to carrying the ball the same kind of load that Boobie Whitlow did. Let's try to get a little opportunistic with this thing. When he runs the ball, you stand him up, strip the ball away from him. Turnovers is going to be a really huge key for this transitional phase for the Auburn Tigers from a running back standpoint. I want you guys to understand this. Now, here's my plan. This is what I want to do. I got a little free time first thing in the morning, so I want to actually do my first live stream where I cover the actual game. I do a little commentary on the game like some of the other YouTubers do. And one thing I'm going to be looking out for is when Auburn hits the field is how the Arkansas defenders tackle Auburn, especially the Auburn running backs. Are they going to be trying to create some turnovers? For sure, they should be. If you want to equalize this game, that's exactly what you want to do. Number two, one of the keys to victories, I think, for Auburn, still on the offensive side on the football field, I'm actually not concerned about the offensive line. I think these guys have played relatively solid. They're not exactly elite, but they have not put the Auburn Tigers in the adverse position that a lot of people would like to believe. I mean, you can throw apples and oranges at me, but go look at the tape. They haven't. Clean pockets. It is what it is. Now, here's what I'm concerned about for Auburn. What is the schematics for Bo Nix going into this particular football game? I like Bo Nix as an intermediate passer. I don't think that you're going to get much from a confidence standpoint out of Bo Nix throwing the long ball, especially that one. Now, a lot of folks like to criticize Bo Nix, and I'm one of them, but I'm going to get off that soapbox. A lot of folks want to criticize Bo Nix for not being able to fit the ball in that cover 2 type coverage where you got to fit a deep ball in between the cornerback and the safety. That's not an easy throw to make. And those are the ones that we're criticizing Bo Nix about, him not making. He doesn't need to throw that ball, honestly. It's open, but he doesn't need to throw it because that's a hard throw to make. It visually looks open from where we sit as armchair quarterbacks, analysis, or whatever we want to call ourselves. But when you're actually a quarterback trying to put that ball in between the cornerback and the safety, that's not an easy throw to make, and it's usually not going to happen, especially for a true freshman quarterback. I think Gus Malzahn needs to do this. Number one, there's a portion of the football field that Gus Malzahn has not exploited, and that's the shallow intermediate portion of the football field. You got to give Bo Nix a chance to get some confidence. Go back to the first drive against Washington. Go back to the winning drive against Texas A&M. That gives you what Bo Nix's skill set can do for you at this point. If you do that, I think you start to get some confidence. Bo Nix is going to have a very tough outing in Baton Rouge. You got to start to get his confidence up to where he feels like he can throw the passes that he's, at this point, capable of making. Give him those intermediate throws. Give him those over the middle throws, especially with someone else other than Seth Williams. I mean, you got plenty of guys. You got Sal Cannella. You have Anthony Schwartz. You have Eli Stove. And another guy that we really haven't talked about in a few weeks is Will Hastings. Give him a chance to be successful. I like Bo Nix, but I'm going to give him hell because I know the skill set, and I think at times Gus Malzahn has tried some stuff that probably worked in practice, but just could not translate over to actual gameplay. Last but not least, keys to victory for the Auburn Tigers. I like Auburn on defense. Statistically, they're not as dominant as the personnel would dictate. Here's what I want from these guys. I want a shutout, man. Straight up. You're talking about a defense that has Marlon Davidson, Derek Brown, a pretty athletic secondary. I need a shutout going into game number 8 against LSU. I think Auburn's defense needs to show a perception of dominance against an SEC team going up against one of the best teams that they're going to face all year. I look at LSU on offense. I look at LSU overall. At that point, that's going to be one of the best defense. That's going to be the best team that Auburn is going to face all year. So I think Auburn needs to make a statement, pitch a shutout on the road, and then get right back on the bus again and go down to Baton Rouge and take on LSU in a 2:30 game, Central Time, 3:30 Eastern Time. And, I'm looking at that game like real quick preview. You drag those guys into the middle of the third quarter on into the fourth and let the chips fall as they may. But back to the Arkansas game. I think Auburn's defense needs to be very dominant in this game. I also would like a few takeaways. Nope, no fumbles. A couple of interceptions would be nice in this game. So, as we look at it, these are the keys to victory for the Auburn Tigers. Number one, Gus Malzahn putting Bo Nix in a very favorable position. Quick passes, quick throws. I think that's great. Also, ball protection. from the running back position. These guys have not, I think they're talented, but they have not had a lot of touches. So they got to hold on to the ball. And also, it's time for this defense, this elite defense, to pitch a shutout. Once again, it's Kennard Vernon Stewart here to the podcast, talking about keys to victory for the Auburn Tigers. And as always, it's great to be an Auburn Tiger, War Eagle.